It says this meeting's been recorded. Okay, just got everything. Cool.
There we go. You all right, Chris? How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, wicked, wicked. A little bit windswept, mate. I'm afraid, as you can see, it's the sort of weather we're getting down in Margate right now. So,
I
look,
wish you
it's
had
great.
your hair, to be honest.
Well, I wish I didn't most of the time. So, do some sort of trade if you like. It's great to see you, and I know we've been meaning to do this for a little while. Actually, jump on and do a little bit of a recording because we chat on the phone enough, which is really cool. But I think it'll be good to put some bits and pieces out there so that people can get to know you and you can grow your audience a little bit, Chris. So what I want to do is kind of start at the beginning, if that's all right with you, and just
Cool.
get to know you a little bit as an estate agent, as a person, and just importantly about your experience with EXP. So what's your background, Chris? How did you find yourself in the wonderful world that is a estate agency?
Yes, actually, I never actually wanted the job in a estate agency. That was a good start for you, isn't it? I was
Sounds
being,
about right.
I was actually, I worked for in car and vehicle leasing, and I had an okay job there. And this person said to me, "Come and yeah, I've got a fantastic job for you." So I was like, "Okay, fine." She said, "But you've got to hand in your notice, okay, to join." So fair enough. Handed my notice in 2 weeks into notice, and the job had been pulled.
Ah,
So I was kind of left in a situation with 2 weeks left to go with no job. So I started applying for jobs all over the place, and this estate agency job came up, and I thought, well, I haven't got a job, better go and apply for it. Got an interview, and 16, 17 years later from that interview, I was in the same firm, albeit two parts of that firm.
yeah.
Spent all my career at one single company. So that was my start, really. Started as a junior neg, all the way up to senior neg to branch manager. Managed a couple of branches in a company which, when I first joined, had 4 offices. By the time I left, they had about, lost count, 16, 17, 18
Really?
offices. So quite, it was a good company. It really was. Michael Graham, I'll name it. It was a good reputable estate agency in sort of about 4, 5, 6 different counties now.
Oh,
But yeah, that's kind of my kind of entry into a estate agency. Never really wanted a job, but life needs meant I started in a job and then loved it, and still love it now, to be honest.
well, I've
So
only met two estate agents that actually set out to become estate agents. I am one of them. I don't know why. Ever since probably 15, 16, I fancied doing it. I think it was the car and suit that did it. And the other one is an agent I really like. Is a guy called Perry Power.
yeah,
And he and I are the only two people I think I've ever heard say out loud that they always intended to be. Everyone else tends to fall into it, but we're glad you
yeah,
did, mate.
yeah.
And so you stuck with it. So I guess there were parts of the job that you enjoyed to stick with it for such a long period of time. So what was your first sort of what was your first experience like in a state agency? What parts of the role did you warm to?
Oh, yes. I think I think it sounds a bit cliched or a bit soppy, or it's just helping people. I think, there's obviously money to be made in this agency and stuff like that. But I still think to this day, probably I like to think of myself as a helpful person, probably too helpful sometimes. And, people say, "Oh, Chris, don't, you're doing too much," and that kind of thing. But ultimately, I think that's probably where my love lies in terms of what I love about estate agency. And it's so varied, isn't it? Every day is different in this
Yeah.
job. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But you can certainly never say 2 days are the same in this industry. And it's probably really what I love about it. It's just that the randomness and the excitement, but then obviously you're helping people with the next step of their move.
Yeah.
I think that's lost in estate agency in a minute, in many different aspects. Is people kind of forget that you're actually holding somebody's next step of their life.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's all about the money. The door opens at 8:30, it closes at 6. And those people maybe spend a whole weekend worrying about something or what's happening next. And that's why I love what we do now, I think, in many respects. So going off tangent there, but
No, not at all. Actually, I think that was a really good answer because I was saying to someone the other day, I don't know if I put a video on LinkedIn saying something very similar, but interesting enough, when I first started promoting this self-employed model that is EXP, I did a lot of posts about the money and the income, which I still view as being really, really important, by the way.
yeah,
But the really interesting thing that I've learned is that I probably spoke to 300 plus people about joining EXP. Um, more people talk about doing a great job for the client and being a good, honourable estate agent than they do talk about the money
Yeah,
by a long shot as well.
yeah.
And
I
certainly our
think
best agents, Tony Ruby, Jane, I mean, I won't name them, but, our top agents, people like Kirsty Hodgson, when I talk to them, they are absolutely fraught with worry about whether or not they're doing the best thing for their clients.
mate, that's 100%, probably more so. I think that's what I like to say as well. Is when the door closes at 6 p.m., you know, in what we do now, it's like that worry continues, but wanting to help the customer out.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what makes a lot of the self-employed agents that I know probably massively different. Michael Graham is a great company to work for.
Yeah.
I consider myself a much better estate agent now than what I was, and I was always a good agent with them, of course, as well. But I just think doing what we do now is much better for customers. It really is, and I think it's only a matter of time. I'll make a bold statement, that there'll be a big turn towards the independent estate agent, whether they're running a small team like they can do with the eXp now, or whether they're just independents. I think that just the level of service is far greater, far greater. So
Yeah, I agree. And whether or not I think that's partly because as a self-employed agent or as a small business, you get to make your living from looking after a smaller client bank, which I think it gives you more time. I don't think a lot of those agents looking after 100 people, they're not giving bad service. They want to. They're giving bad service because there's no alternative, right? When you're looking
yeah,
after that many people. But also, from what I'm seeing, is that actually some really highly conscientious people tend to be the people that are the most compatible with being self-employed. Because the irony of it is, the better job you do and the more you care, the more people you get to do that for, because you get referrals. You end up making more money doing it that way rather than actually just chasing the money, which I think is really cool. So, Chris, you're gonna have to remind me, because I feel like I've known you for a long time now. How long have you been involved with eXp?
just over 3 years. So I started in August the 4th or so. My cap is 1st of August. Cap resets 1st of August. So I think it was
Okay.
4th of August, something like that. So yeah, just over 3 years. I never did a 3-year post actually. Happy birthday, 3 years.
Too busy, mate, which is a good
Too
sign.
busy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's really, so you were among the early adopters anyway, then, really, weren't you? The whole EXP thing. So when someone first approached you, I'd love to know what your initial reaction was to it when you first saw this
Uh,
pop up.
so look, I think I started just coming out of COVID. I
Yeah.
think, and I was there was a local agent here, Zafia Jasinska, I don't know if you remember her, but I always
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
name her on her. Yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't mind. And I saw this lady selling houses, and I was like, "What's this? What's this all about?" And at the time, I'd kind of run my course. I was getting itchy feet. I was bored. I was having that time. I was going to, do I want to change tack completely? I was thinking of going back into recruitment, or during lockdown, I was doing actually lots of IT training. So I was a little interested in IT stuff. I was thinking about doing some sort of IT thing. And then this popped up and I saw this probably 3 or 4 year experienced agent. And I was going, hang on, what's this about? And then the more I looked into it, I started getting more and more into it, following her and looking at the post and liking the post. And then a good friend of mine in Michael Graham called me up. He says, "Have you heard the jungle drums?" So those are exact words, and you know exactly what I'm going to say.
I can hear him saying it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear him
yeah,
saying it.
and Gavin Mills was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving." And I was like, "Where are you going?" And in my head, I was like, "This guy's going to EXP, isn't he?" And then the sentence later, I said, "Well, have a look at this, Chris." And then I heard the next one, which I probably won't name actually. I don't know if he's kind of a bit quiet a minute, but another high roller in EXP when he started.
Yeah,
And he was going as well. And I thought, if two of the biggest earners in MG are going to be leaving, then
yeah,
I need to look at this seriously.
yeah,
And they were doing some good jobs, in the job and also in what they're earning.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was it. So that's how it ended up kind of where it is, just that post-lockdown kind of blues in terms of the job, and then wanting to change.
Well, I mean, I remember that because I remember Gavin joining. I had his initial early days conversations with him, and he was probably one of the first sort of top earners that we managed to encourage out of a very comfortable employed role into the self-employed environment, and so
Yeah.
that really meant a lot when he joined. I remember it vividly. Um, and naturally, that's what it does, right? People are attracted to it when they see top agents like you and
Mm.
Gavin and others joining it. People pay attention to that, and with good reason. So, you're now running your business. So your area you cover is it Milton Keynes, right?
Milton Keynes surrounding, up to Northampton, crossed
Yeah.
up, sold some houses in Luton, villages around. I've actually sold a cottage in Wales for a repeat customer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Moved her from Milton Keynes. She went to Wales, and sold a property for her in Wales. So that was a team effort, though. She did the viewings. I just got the photos, floor plan, and video tour done.
Yeah,
And
wicked. Oh, I love that. It's great. So you can
good.
actually, that's the interest. So you can sell houses in Milton Keynes and still retain your clients all the way over in Wales and do
Yeah,
another great job, which is pretty cool and kind of funny as well, isn't it? Really,
yeah,
to sell a house that far away. I love that. Okay, cool. So I mean, in terms of your business and how it looks now, do you
yeah.
have like an amount of properties that you like to look after? Is there like a magic number for you?
Yeah, I think when I first started, when it was going mental, I got to about above 20.
Yeah,
When I had 20 on the market and sold, it started to creak at the seams a bit. I
yeah,
mean, I like to offer really, really close sort of, customer service. And I got to sort of 21, 22, 23, and I think the wheels started to rattle a little bit. And I was
yeah,
stretched in terms of structuring my, vendor calls, all that kind of stuff. So that's probably where I said to myself, look, I need to really think about how I'm doing this. Maybe, not necessarily turn over business, but put the fees up there, I say, and I'd obviously control that a little bit more, and I think know your worth as well. I think is it something it's taken me a little while to realise, but that can obviously, rather than taking on everything and being running yourself ragged, it's a
yeah.
case of let's just focus a little bit on looking after the ones you get, but controlling the income a bit and earning a bit more per sale. And the people who don't want to pay are the ones you don't want to deal with. No disrespect to them, but I think good service deserves good pay. So
I think so. A lot of agents go on that journey, myself included, in terms of getting out there, establishing yourself at a fee level, and
yeah,
then I think starting to see yourself how much work goes into each transaction. Once you get to grips with the fact that you're not just doing the viewings and then passing it to a senior neg to negotiate the offer
yeah,
and passing it to a sales progressor, but you're actually performing the 360 role, which is probably 70% counselor, isn't it? 30%
oh
estate
yeah,
agent. Really, in fact, if I was going to nudge that percentage in any direction, it would be up. It could even be more than that.
yeah.
Um,
Well, let's face it. If you get the valuation right, sometimes the house can sell fairly easy, can't it? It's just
yeah,
all the stuff which happens after there, which I do think a lot of people don't really get
yeah,
in the public eye. They just think the estate agents sell homes and that's it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But there is, like you say, I'd say sometimes is 80%, 85% is the back end stuff that people don't see.
Yep.
And that's where the money is, I think, with a lot of good estate agents is coaching people to that end result. And that's where I think the experience drops in as well,
Yeah. Couldn't agree
helping them
more.
make the right decisions.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, that's actually the bit where you would rather the experienced agent jumped in, right? Like the
Yeah,
viewings and stuff. It's great to have you out there doing it. But yes, junior neg can do a viewing and they may or may not sell a house, but it's steering that ship in the unsteady waters that is the sales progression side of it and keeping what can be chains of, if you think multiple people in each house, it can be 10, 12, 14 people that you're trying to keep happy at any one point during a chain. And that does take a lot of experience, I think, to be able to do that, to be able to do
is
it
it
well.
the pitfalls? We all know this kind of whole journey just changes so much when you're selling houses, and we've all had those sales which take ages, and there's so many ups and downs along the way. And I do think the experienced agent foresees the issues or notices when the issues are going to crop up, and
Yeah.
they right when you start a sale, you think, that's I'm going to keep one eye on that because I know that's going to be an issue later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, no disrespect to new agents in the industry, all these people that come in and they've very little experience and suddenly they're property experts. 17 years I've done this job and I still learn stuff every day, every week in
Yeah.
terms of sales, and that's why experience definitely is worth the money. So
No, I agree. I agree, and it's something that we do see across the board that agents do tend to nudge their fees up within their time
Yeah,
at eXp. The longer they're self-employed, I think they start to value themselves and their time in a different way than they have done in the past. And also, a natural confidence comes with having a pipeline and money in the bank too, right? When
yeah,
you've got a little bit more money in the bank, it does
yeah,
become easier to have that attitude of I'll take it or leave it when it comes to a listing. Whereas maybe, understandably, if it's your first week and someone wants to push you a little bit harder on the fee or give you one that's maybe a little bit toppy on price, you're more likely to take it in those early days than maybe you are once you're a little bit more
yeah. I
established.
think that's what everyone goes to, isn't it? Though the journey, I did the same. I got caught in the 1% trap,
Yeah,
and it was like it took me a while. Even my wife turned around to me saying, "Chris, you're worth more than that." And whilst my Sarah wife is not necessarily involved in my business and doesn't want to be, she's a great sounding board in terms of because she sees all the stresses and strains I go through. She sees
yeah,
what I do, and she's like, the fees need to do. When everything started going up in the world over the last year, and she was like, well, fees need to go up as well because everything
yeah,
else is going up. And that's what I would probably one of the things I would say is people starting this journey is realize what your worth is when you're doing this and do your best to obviously charge an equivalent rate.
yeah.
But it took me 2.5 years to kind of get to that point, which is the
Yeah, I'm not
frustrating thing. But
surprised. And
but
you've got to remember you were starting that journey at the same time as a lot of us at EXP, whereas now I think a lot of newcomers will be having those conversations with someone who's got more experience in working as a self-employed agent, therefore you or me, whoever,
yeah,
be talking to you and hopefully be given that guidance from the early days of, let's try and keep those fees as high as we can from day one. And here's some examples of what other people are charging. I think gives you a level of confidence, that's for sure. So the business is in a good place for you. I mean, what as an overview of where things are at for you right now, I don't know what you're prepared to say and what you're not, Chris. So
look,
what's
I
the
think
outlook?
look, I think my everything has been increasing year on year. So I'm in a good place. I mean, yeah, I think if the salary is going up, what I'm paying myself is going up. I think personally, I'll be quite honest here, we're paying off more debts. Not that we're massively in debt, by the way, but we're kind of like paying stuff off that the little debts we've had. But yeah, all in all, business going in the right way, and probably increased 10,000 per year every year for the last 2 years, of course, starting from. So it's going in the right direction. I think next the way things are going, despite what we're going on at the minute, what's going on in the world, everything is still going up, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. I'm probably in the next 4 weeks, bear in mind my cap reset on the 1st of August, I would have probably done nearly half that already.
I see it. Right. Okay. So let's just explain what that means. So that means
Yeah.
you will have done 40 grand over what period of time?
Since the 1st of August till probably the next 4 weeks' time, I reckon. So by the middle of November, I've done half my cap. It might just drop off a little bit for the start of the year because everything's lulled a little bit, but I've got some more homes coming on, more fees coming in. You get the right prices, and I think it will probably pick up again early, sort of February, in terms of my income coming back in. So it's
Okay.
gone well. I can't complain.
Well,
Last
it's hard
cap,
work, mate. Yeah,
yeah,
no, mate. Honestly, that's fantastic to hear that because you deserve it. I know that you've worked incredibly hard over your 3 years with EXP, and actually, what I think the irony of it is, the harder you work for your first few years, the slightly, hopefully, it gets beyond that. So, are you now starting to find that you're not having to pedal quite as hard to win business?
yeah. I think what I'm fine. I laid quite well. I like to think I laid some good ground roots quite early. So I did
Yeah,
a lot of whether it's just leaflet dropping, letters, or trying different routes in social media, or looking at Google and using Google in a different way. And I probably had a good network as well,
yeah,
which I don't think a lot of people, when they look at this, don't realize how strong their network will be. So
yeah,
I've kind of had people come. One of my family friends, I've sold 2 houses for. My because I've sold 3 homes for another customer as well in the 3 years I've been here. For whatever reason,
yeah.
they've
Wicked.
sold and resold. Um, so yeah, I think I'm being able to be a little bit more choosy on what homes and what fees I charge, because now I realise that there is another house coming. I might not know when it is, but
Yeah.
another house comes, and it's like I'm still doing my own prospecting and stuff like that, and using different bits of prop tech to get homes. but yeah, I think the peddling's just slightly different. It's,
Yeah,
it's not shoe leather anymore.
yeah, that's right.
It's going back from a database and really maximizing what's in the database already, and keeping contact with people. But yeah, I think I like the fact that, what is it? A very high percentage of people don't go back to their original estate agent.
Yeah, very high.
And it's like 85, 87% or something. Is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I've probably got easily 5 or 6 customers that have come back to me for whatever reason, whether it's family moving again or difficult situations moving again, or just change their mind whether they want to live. So all that repeat business
Which is significant, isn't it? To get that repeat business, because in our job, it's all well and good. Someone might absolutely love you, but they might live in their next house for 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So they might be absolutely raving about you, but they can't use you again because people don't just
Yeah.
politely move just because they like using the service,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like, I need some money. Do you want to move again?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. But that's awesome to be getting that repeat business. Obviously, the deal you did in Wales is really cool as well. So, have you got any sort of particular aspirations for your business moving forwards? Have you got any sort of personal goals that you're trying to tick off?
I think really it's just to keep growing my business. I mean, I'm not. I want to increase my fees, so I probably going to have to do less work, just a slightly different direction. But no, at the minute it's just really I've got a bit of a personal goal. My wife wants to start a business, so a lot of my focus is moving my business forward to be able to help my wife with that. I mean, we've had this chat before,
Yeah.
but what that is, I don't want to go too much into that because
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, things like, I want to grow a business in terms of the revenue share side of things as well,
Yeah.
and help new agents come up. Because I think this is, I mean, it sounds cheesy, and I'll say it here, but I love what I do now. I love what I did before, but I love what I do now.
Yeah.
And the other night I was sitting here till 9 o'clock, tapping away, doing stuff, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. It's like, close your laptop. And it's like, but I actually wanted to. In my head, I was having that conversation. Just close the laptop now. I was like, no, I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think, passing that on to other people. I think, creating my little network. There's obviously the Teams thing. Don't know if that's, I'll think about that. But, for me at the minute, that's not where I'm going to go. But I do see that's a possibility in the future, because I do think that's a great way for the business to go.
So you love what you do and you want to share that with other
Yeah.
people. And okay, well, I think that's what we should all be doing, because I feel exactly the same way, mate. I was only talking to Ben Moore about it this morning.
Yeah.
This is such a stupid example, by the way, even reluctant to say it on the recording. But I woke up this morning, and like, when you wake up and your brain is just not working, right? And you think, when you I feel like in most days, to be honest with you, more so recently, but I woke up this morning and I just wasn't functioning. I don't know if I'd not had enough sleep or not had good quality sleep or whatever it was, but I looked at what I had to do and thought, I was just going to be substandard work all day. I knew it. So I had 20 minutes sleep on there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I had
Awesome.
20 minutes, and I woke up and my eyes just went like, and I thought, I feel great. I feel really, really good. And I thought, it's so funny, isn't it? Because if I was employed and I said to a boss, look, I just need half an hour extra to get my head down for a nap, just like I'm 7.
Yeah. They'll be like, on your bike.
They'd say, no, you've got to come in feeling crap and just get through the day. And ironically, although I lost 20 minutes, half an hour to that, right?
Yeah.
I've been so much more productive because I was able to. And I think it's bizarre little wins like that is when I have a little bit of gratitude for what I do now. And even if it's, I mean, you've probably noticed, just being able to spend a little bit more time with a client, viewing finishes, and they say, do you want to stay for a cup of tea? And you're like, you're not thinking, shit, I've got to get back to the office. You're thinking, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
We'll go sit in the garden, have a cup of tea. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I've sat there for ages with people. I've gone, I've met people, homes that I've completed on and stuff like that. I met them in the pub. I've gone and seen them. Handing over gifts and stuff. And yeah, it's just having that ability to just give what the job needs. What it really needs. Again, it comes back to what I said earlier on. It sounds cheesy, but these are people's homes and lives and next steps. And I do think that part is lost in a lot of, I'm not going to say all of it, a lot of traditional high street, whatever you call it, agency, because everyone is targeted, KPI'd or whatever. But But when you've got such a big move in what might be a good or bad situation, why not give them that time?
Yeah.
Why not give somebody? I mean, actually, one of my old friends is still a friend of mine, and he's awesome at the job, and he used to go off and do evaluations, and he'd be gone for like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours sometimes. I'd be like, well, where have you been? He's like, I wasn't his manager, you know what I mean? He was like, I've been chatting to so and so, but he'd come back with every single instruction. He wouldn't lose an instruction really.
Yeah.
He didn't come back. Oh, I didn't get on well with them. But it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and then they get a phone call. Yeah, we have instruction here.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I think that's it. It's giving people that time, and that's what this does allow, doesn't it? Bottom line.
That's I think so, and I've always enjoyed. I feel like I can really hold my head up high as a self-employed agent. When I see old clients, I'm not trying to hide from them in
Yeah.
Tesco because I know that I listed their house and then didn't speak to them again for 6 months. But I'm calling out their name or they're calling me. You go and have a nice little chat, and I don't know. I feel a little bit more. Do you feel prouder about being an estate agent now
Oh
than when
yeah, definitely,
yeah,
100%, 100%. Because you are, I think you're generally giving them what they help they need, and I
yeah,
do think it's coaching people. Like you
yeah,
said, it's almost like a counsellor, but I think a lot of times you are helping people. They might not move for like 12. I've got a couple of people that haven't moved for 20 years, had a hell of a sale. They've exchanged the other day, and the gratitude is there straight away. They're like, thanks. And it was, I mean, it was a really horrendous sale for them.
yeah,
But and the buyer as well, but she had situations which impacted. But it's like, we're never doing this again, but thank you for helping us.
yeah,
And that's and they've not moved in 20 years. So it was like, so that, imagine that, not moving in 20 years, and then you're hit with all these issues that happen.
yeah,
And the genuine gratitude. They're like, oh, please come and see us before we move on Wednesday and stuff like that. So it's moments like that'll be awesome. And then getting the keys from them, it'll be a great feeling. Then they'll go off, and I might not see him again for another 15 years, which time
yeah.
I'll be retired somewhere nice.
That's sometimes it feels a bit weird, doesn't it, when they can. I mean, I never used to get this feeling, but when a house completes, I just used to give the keys and move on, and my mind just empty. And sometimes I think, oh, that's someone I've spoke to for like half an hour every other day for the last six
Yeah.
months, and now
Oh, would.
I haven't really got much to talk to them about next week or whatever. It's it's a different feeling, isn't it? I think when you get to that, hand over the keys anyway.
Yeah, definitely. It's that you a lot of times the intensive ones, you're talking to them maybe once, 2, 3 times a day,
Yeah,
and then it goes like it's gone.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and it's a relief, and I suppose in a way. But yeah, you've got to, like I say, hold your head up high that you've helped these people get there.
yeah.
Let's face it, 90% of sales don't get there easily, do they?
No, 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 no. Yeah. In fact, I'm most nervous about the ones that look like they are going to coast through because they're always the
Wrong
ones
there.
that major headache at last minute. Um, but yeah, mate, I love that. I love what you've said about putting the customer first, and the differences around how we work now as self-employed agents. I think that's something that takes a while to get used to as well, because looking after a smaller pool of clients does mean less calls, outgoing, incoming. It means a little bit more time in your diary. And have you ever found yourself almost going, I've got nothing in this afternoon. Uh-oh, what do I do now? And almost instead of allowing yourself to enjoy it, you go back to employed mentality of panicking about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm slowly coming out of that whole, again, 3 years in. I mean, I love my job, and it was that, it was sometimes takes a while to have that transfer from, you can work when you want to work, but
Yeah.
if you're a motivated person, you know when you need to work and when you can take your foot off the gas and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I always fall into that. Right, I've got something to do now.
Yeah.
What can I do? What can I do? I can do this. I can do that. But now I've started to relax a bit, because I'm one of those people that I will work when I've got to work. I've got to make the money. Then I'll work. But sometimes you can go, do you know what? Let's go and do this. Let's have an afternoon and go and visit some people, or just go and do something. And I don't feel so guilty about that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's probably coming out of that 8 to 6 mentality. Because we've all done it, where you kind of work until 8, 9 o'clock, but then you take that time back, don't you, some other time. And I think there's other benefits. Like I love taking my kids to school every day. I know people sit there on LinkedIn and stuff, and they're going about all this flexibility and stuff like that. It's hard work what we do, but I
Yeah.
always find it's enjoyable hard work. And You know, if you were sitting in an office working for a company, writing out letters or handwriting letters or envelopes for a bid for an estate agent, you'd be like, oh, bloody, I've got to write all these letters. But what I do now, I sit there and I'm like, right, yeah, right, another letter, right, another letter, right. You know, it's like, bang, just get them done. Just get them
I think
done.
when you've chosen to do it, it's got a completely different feeling about it, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
you've made a decision to do it, and also you know that there's a high chance you're going to be the person reaping the reward of
yeah,
doing that.
yeah,
So yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I love doing my letters. I find it sending out my touting letters. I find a really quite a
yeah.
therapeutic experience. Signing the letters, folding them, putting them in
Right.
the envelope. Off you go, bosh. You know, and I love it. So
Yeah, that's what I like. Everyone's got different technique, haven't they? Different kind of structure of doing it.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, that's one thing I've done more so recently is more structure in my day because I find sometimes I was headless chickening about. I've got a couple of sort of non-negotiables I do every day now. Obviously, after a bit of time doing it now,
yeah.
but really helps. And we all know consistency will pay off. I think that's one thing. Do the basics, and it's very basics. To be honest, it doesn't. It's not hard estate agency in some respects. Consistency is one of the big ones, just to make your business successful. It's not rocket science, but you know, just doing it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, mate, I've really enjoyed having that chat. I think we should do it again sometime
Yeah,
real soon, actually, because I think there's a lot more I want to ask you around, you know, future aspirations and things like that. But I think that's been really useful, and I'm going to pop it up on YouTube for anyone to watch a
you
video
know,
and get to know Chris a little bit better.
make me a
Uh,
star score. Yeah.
and anyone who is keen to learn more about EXP and agent, you know, understand the model in a bit more detail, or talk directly with an agent that's, you know, been there and done that, then I couldn't recommend they get in touch with anyone more highly than I can recommend they get in touch with you, Chris. So
Yeah, mate, you're awesome.
we'll pop your number in the details as well so that people can find you. And even if it's early days, right, I guess even if someone's a year away from doing it, they just want to find out the details now, I'm sure you'll be happy to take that call, right?
Definitely, and I think yeah, sometimes it's not an instant decision, isn't it? You know, it takes time to get into this kind of thing, and I think there's lots to consider.
Yeah.
I do think it's the way forward.
Yeah, so do I, mate. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. That's a good way to end our interview. Chris, lovely to chat with you, mate, and I look forward to our next catch up real soon.
Yeah, cheers, Scott. You too, mate.